On Global TV News Express, security operatives in Abuja disperse pro-Nnamdi Kanu protesters. In business, China and Nigeria-China Investment Club partner to boost investment in Nigeria. On the foreign scene, United Nations Palestinian Authority map out Gaza reconstruction plan. And in sports, Nigeria wins gold at 2025 Hockey AFCON. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Mukhtar Kasim. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV, channel 365, and on Star Times, channel 276. And now the news in details. There was tension today in Abuja as security operatives dispersed protesters demanding the release of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The protesters, led by the publisher of Sahara Reporters, Omoyele Sowore, gathered at the Federal Secretariat before the crowd was dispersed with tear gas. Our correspondent, Ubong Usoro, reports.
Protesters, led by Omoyele Sowore, assembled early in the front of Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja, carrying banners reading "Free Nnamdi Kanu Now" and "Justice for Biafra." According to some media reports, Sowore addressed the crowd, saying the detention of Kanu symbolizes a wider social injustice in Nigeria. Despite warnings from the police, the group pressed on and officers had to fire canisters of tear gas to disperse the gathering.
What did the man do? Yes. He do nothing. Nothing. People have said they embezzle the country. Nothing. When I look at eye, when I feel say good, when I continue. They should continue. They should continue what they are doing. If this is we are not here for violence. We are not here for trouble. We are not here to commit any crime.
Police officers who spoke to Global Television off camera said the demonstration was unlawful and violated a court injunction, adding that they were forced to act in order to prevent a breakdown of law and order. The crackdown marks a new escalation in the standoff over Nnamdi Kanu's detention. Ubong Usoro, reporting for Global Television.
Of commuters were left stranded for several hours today's morning along the Abuja-Kefi Expressway following a massive traffic gridlock caused by military staff and check operations. Global Television correspondent Sadia Yakubu reports that the movement into Abuja was brought to a complete halt, leaving motorists and passengers frustrated and exhausted.
This is the ever-busy Abuja-Kefi Highway, a lifeline connecting Nasarawa State to the Federal Capital Territory. But today, it is at a standstill. Vehicles are locked in a long queue stretching for several kilometers with no sign of movement. As early as 5:30 a.m., commuters heading into the city found themselves trapped in the gridlock. Some frustrated passengers abandoned their vehicles and continued on foot. But even that offered no escape. The entire route was blocked. The situation was caused by military stop and search checkpoints mounted along the highway as troops intensified screening of vehicles and passengers entering the Federal Capital Territory. The exercise, according to reports, follows intelligence alerts about possible protests and unrest within Abuja. Meanwhile, hundreds of workers and traders commuting from Nasarawa and neighboring communities were forced to remain on the road for hours. Many are calling on authorities to find more efficient ways of conducting security checks without grounding movement. Sadia Yakubu, reporting for Global Television News.
Now, despite warnings and security directives by the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, the organizers of the #Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest took to the streets of Abuja, triggering sweeping security lockdowns across the Federal Capital Territory. The protest, led by the activist and former presidential candidate Sowore, defied a court order and law enforcement warnings that barred demonstrations from approaching the presidential villa and ordered designated critical national assets and infrastructure. Sowore, convener of the protest, had earlier warned security operatives via social media, declaring that any brutality against peaceful protesters would be met with accountability. Away from the protest, the Nigerian Senate has expressed deep concern over the growing safety lapses in the country's aviation sector. citing a recent incident involving Air Peace aircraft at the Port Harcourt International Airport. Following the incident, the Nigerian Safety Investigations Bureau, in its preliminary report, indicted the pilot and co-pilot for taking hard drugs and alcohol. The report noted that toxicological test results conducted on the flight crew turned out positive. The test indicated the presence of alcohol in the system of the crew, while another crew member also tested positive for active compound found in cannabis, popularly called Indian hemp. The Nigerian Senate has called for the integration of mental health education into the national academic curriculum as part of efforts to address the growing psychological and emotional challenges facing students and educators across the country. The chairman, Senate Committee on Health, Senator Dr. Ipalibu Hari Baningo, made the call during the mental health program organized by the Mandate Health Empowerment Initiative in Abuja. Delivering the keynote address, Baningo, who also serves as the grand patron of the Association of Mental Health Reform Organizations in Africa, underscored the strong link between mental health, discipline, and academic productivity. And now to election matters, where the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has fixed October 22 to October 26 for the distribution of permanent voter cards (PVCs) for citizens who registered during the recent continuous voter registration (CVR) in Anambra State. The Commission disclosed this in a statement by the Director, Voter Education and Publicity, Victoria Etta Mercy, in Abuja, while advising registered voters who participated in the recently concluded CVR exercise in the state to visit registration area where they originally registered to collect their PVCs. Etta Mercy emphasized that PVC collection is by person, saying there will be no collection by proxy under any circumstance. Former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has been appointed by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to head its election observation mission for the forthcoming presidential election in Côte d'Ivoire. In a statement from the community, the election is scheduled to be held on October 25, 2025, while the observation mission will be deployed from October 19 to 29, 2025, in accordance with the provisions of ECOWAS Supplementary Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance. The regional body said the deployment of the mission underscores ECOWAS' commitment to promoting peace, stability, and credible elections across West Africa. And now returning to Nigeria and Katsina State, where the government has announced plans to flag off Farmers Radio MSME clinics and commission several other projects during Vice President Kashim Shettima's visit to the state, scheduled on Tuesday. Commissioner for Agriculture and Livestock, Professor Ahmed Bokori, said the Farmers Radio station is expected to address aspects of the state's agricultural production. Bokori noted that the state's government is making arrangements to receive Shettima on Monday, where he is expected to inaugurate projects executed by Governor Dikko Radda on Tuesday. In the meantime, the National Agricultural Land Development Authority, NALDA, has signed a memorandum of understanding with private agri-business firm Azrikin Noma as part of its intensified efforts to boost food production through new partnership. Speaking at the signing ceremony in Abuja, the agency's Executive Secretary, Engineer Cornelius Adebayo, explained that the agreement is strictly for the Ora Mega Farm and not for other NALDA farms across the country. Our correspondent, Anita Patrick, completes the report.
Adebayo said the partnership will help fast-track operations at the Ora site, which is part of NALDA's broader initiative to establish fully serviced agricultural clusters across Nigeria, each equipped with modern facilities such as hostels, warehouses, administrative offices, and mechanization hubs. He said the Ora farm is already taking shape with thousands of hectares cleared and prepared for cultivation under the Renewed Hope Mega Farm Settlement Project, designed to boost food production and empower rural communities.
We have started the project out of Ora in Kwara State, Irele in Ekiti State, and also in Bauchi State. And we do not think we need to finish the entire 5,000 hectares before operation starts, because Oregon waits for no project launch. We do not believe that we have to complete it, then we'll call in the president to come and cut the tape before we start planting. We are trying to be proactive to make sure Nigerians get food at a cheap price.
On his part, Managing Director of Azikin Noma, Michael Adeshola, said the collaboration represents a major investment in Nigeria's agricultural transformation.
Import. We should be championing local raw materials for local markets, for whatever they want to sell in Nigeria. We have the land, we have the resources. And they said, okay, fine, we have aflatoxin problems, we have traceability problems, we have fumonisin problems. But there's no country without these problems, right? But what are the steps we are taking to solving these solutions? We need to equip our farmers with the right knowledge, the training, the extension, and all them to ensure that they meet the quality standard.
The NALDA boss reaffirmed that the agency remains open to other partnerships that align with national food security goals, but stressed that the Azikin Noma MOU applies exclusively to the Oro Farm projects. He added that similar collaborations will be developed on a case-by-case basis for other states as the Renewed Hope Mega Farm initiative expands. The MOU signing coincided with activities marking World Food Day, symbolizing Nigeria's renewed commitment to ending hunger and building resilient food systems through strategic public-private partnership. Anieti Patrick, reporting for Global TV News.
Now, improper waste disposal in major markets and residential areas across Nigeria is raising serious concern, with traders and residents calling for government intervention. Our correspondent, Sadia Yakubu, brings us details.
The problem is not limited to markets alone. In many residential areas, especially in low-income communities, residents dump waste in drainage channels and open spaces. This practice blocks waterways and worsens the flood during the rainy season, creating breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Despite repeated campaigns on proper waste disposal, compliance remains low.
It's actually hazardous because, of course, when people breathe foul air, it affects them indirectly, That's why as I pass by, I have to use my handkerchief to cover my nose because, of course, I don't want to be affected by it.
Proper waste management requires collective efforts. Governments must improve waste collection systems while citizens take responsibilities for their environment.
This is very bad. It's not good for our health. Even what you're hearing is not really good. Since in primary school they are teaching us hygiene, and we are growing up to see this. It's very, very discouraging.
Improper waste disposal is not just an environmental issue, but a health crisis. Communities need consistent sensitization and better waste collection services to reduce health risk. Sadia Yakubu, reporting for Global Television.
On a sad note, grief has enveloped the family of Senate Majority Leader Senator Patrick Abamoro following the tragic loss of his son, Peter, and grandson within the space of 2 days. Peter, who had recently completed his studies in Turkey, returned to Nigeria to participate in the National Youth Service Corps NYSC program. However, his life was cut short in a fatal motor accident along the Marawa axis of Nasarawa State, barely 24 hours after the burial of the grandson of the senator. The heartbreaking incident has thrown the lawmaker's family and close associates into mourning, with many describing the double tragedy as devastating. The remains of the deceased have been conveyed to Obokolo in local government area of Benue State for burial. Meanwhile, sympathizers have continued to throng Abuja and Obokolo residents of Senator Moro to commiserate with the bereaved family. You're watching the live broadcast of News Express. When News Express returns, Nigeria wins bronze at the 2025 Hockey AFCON. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and business stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, this is the live broadcast of News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital. I am Mukhtar Kasim. And now to business news. China International Business and Development Corporation has signed a strategic partnership agreement with some firms to strengthen and improve the eligibility of companies to access investment and finances into the economy of the sector. In his brief remark during the event held at the King's Court in Ikeja, Lagos State, President of the Nigeria-China Investments Club, Dr. Chidi Ulelu, explained that the signing of the agreement was the first phase of strategic collaborations and investment in development projects in critical sectors of the Nigerian economy, which China was more than ready to support. The agreement was facilitated by the Nigeria-China Investments Club through this partnership will fast-track investment by supporting the firms in accessing the resources they need to grow, create jobs, and drive long-term economic growth. European Union countries have agreed to phase out their remaining gas imports from Russia by the end of 2027, breaking a dependency the bloc has struggled to end despite Moscow's war on Ukraine. Energy ministers in the meeting in Luxembourg approved a plan by the European Commission to phase out both pipeline gas and liquefied natural gas import from Russia, subject to approval by the bloc's parliament. The plan is part of a broader EU strategy to win the bloc of Russian energy supplies. And now to news making rounds on the foreign scene. United Nations Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs Tom Fletcher has met with Mohammed Mustafa, Prime Minister of Palestinian Authority in Ramallah, to advance coordinations on relief and reconstruction in Gaza. Our correspondent, Zara Unasir, has details.
Fletcher told Mustafa that the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a moment of great but precarious hope, adding that the delivery of aid must scale up rapidly and be linked with a durable peace process. Mustafa in turn stressed that the reconstruction of Gaza must be led by the Palestinian institutions with full support from UN agencies, and that the rebuilding plan must restore essential services, employment, and dignity for the people. In the meeting, the two agreed to intensify collaboration between UN operations and Palestinian government structures, emphasizing that bypassing local institutions would undermine the effectiveness and the legitimacy of relief work. As Gaza enters the fragile post-ceasefire phase, the Ramallah meeting signals a renewed push for unified action, humanitarian access, and institutional leadership. Zahra Nasser, reporting for Global TV News.
In a related development, United States President Donald Trump has reaffirmed that the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas remain in effect despite fresh Israeli airstrikes on Gaza that left dozens dead. Trump made the comment while speaking with reporters aboard Air Force One, insisting that the truce has helped broker peace. Our correspondent brings details. President Trump said reports of renewed violence did not signal the collapse of the ceasefire, suggesting instead that the attacks may have been carried out by rogue elements. He assured that any violations would be dealt with properly and thoroughly, while expressing optimism that calm would return. Trump said his administration continues to monitor the situation closely and remains committed to ensuring what he described as a peaceful and sustainable truce between Israel and Hamas.
Well, we're going to have to see what's happening. We want to make sure that it's going to be very peaceful with Hamas, and as you know, they've been quite rambunctious. They've been doing some shooting, and we think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that. You know, some rebels within, but either way, it's going to be handled properly. It's going to be handled toughly, but properly.
Is the ceasefire still in place?
Yeah, it is.
The White House says Vice President J.D. Vance and other senior officials are expected to visit Israel in the coming days to assess development and strengthen efforts towards lasting peace in the region. Mukhtar Kassim, reporting for Global Television News. Huge crowds are gathering in all 50 U.S. states, including near Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida, to vent their anger over President Trump's hardline policies at No Kings, protests that Republicans ridiculed as Hate America rallies. Organizers said 7 million people marched in protest, spanning New York to Los Angeles, with demonstrations springing up in small cities across the country's heartland. Our correspondent, Uyi Agbomofoigbe, has the rest of the story.
This is what democracy looks like, chanted thousands in Washington near the U.S. Capitol, where the federal government was shut down for a third week because of a legislative deadlock. Colorful signs called on people to protect democracy, while others demanded the country to abolish the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency at the center of the Trump's anti-immigrant crackdown.
I have been here as a dream, and my dream has become true. And I don't want this dream to become a nightmare. And what we're seeing right now, we are losing it because of egomaniac person called Trump.
Demonstrators slammed what they called the Republican billionaires' strong-arm tactics, including attacks on the media, political opponents, and undocumented immigrants.
I think we all want to say our word, and if you're going to call us insurrectionists for disagreeing with you, we're the enemy for disagreeing with you. I don't know what America's about, because we're supposed to be able to have common political discourse, and what you're proposing, it's not politics, it's straight up evil.
Trump's response to Saturday's event was typically aggressive, with the U.S. president posting a series of AI-generated videos to his Truth Social platform, depicting him as a king. Uyi Agbomofoigbe, reporting for Global TV News.
And now to the world of sport, where Nigeria's men's hockey team have clinched the bronze medal at the 2025 Hockey Africa Cup of Nations after a commanding 3-1 victory over Kenya in the third-place playoff at the Suez Canal Authority Stadium in Ismaila, Egypt. The win capped a strong finish for the Nigerians in what was the 12th edition of the Continental Championship organized by the African Hockey Federation. The tournament, held concurrently with the women's competition, brought together Africa's best nation sides for 2 weeks of high-intensive action. Away from golf to football, where Flamingos head coach Bankole Oluwakere has blamed missed chances for its side's heavy defeat to Canada. The Nigerian girls started their campaign at the 2025 Under-17 Women's World Cup with a 4-1 loss to the North Americans. Canada took the lead in the second minute through Gabriel Istokski. In the meantime, the Swedish Football Association says ex-Chelsea manager Graham Potter has been appointed national team coach after Jean Dahl Tomasson was sacked last week following 3 straight losses in the World Cup qualifying. Sweden terminated Tomasson's contract on October 14 after his team only managed to win a single point in the first 4 games of the qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup. The Swedish FA said Potter, who was sacked by Premier League club West Ham in September, would be tasked with turning around a team containing star strikers Alexandra Isak and Victor Gyökeres and attempting to qualify for the finals of the World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Now, as Global TV News Express comes to an end, here is a recap of our headlines. On Global TV News Express, there was tension today in Abuja as security operatives dispersed protesters demanding the release of detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB Nnamdi Kanu. In business, China International Business and Development Corporation has signed a strategic partnership agreement with some firms to strengthen and improve the eligibility of the companies to access investment in projects and the development of the country's economic sector. On the foreign scene, you heard that United Nations Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher, has met with Mohammed Mustafa, Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, in Ramallah to advance coordination of relief and reconstruction efforts in Gaza. And from the world of sport, we brought to you that Nigeria's men's hockey team has clinched the bronze medal at the 2025 Hockey Africa Cup of Nations after a commanding 3-1 victory over Kenya in the third-place playoff at the Suez Canal Authority Stadium in Ismaila, Egypt. And that's it on Global TV News Express. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV, channel 365, and on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using at Global TV NG. I am Mukhtar Kasim, saying a very big thank you for watching. Good afternoon.